Not sure how much that actually played on the video, but hoping it did. Anyways, welcome into Tiger Talks Wrestling for this very special edition, our part 2 of our Survivor Series retrospective. A little delayed, a few days, but here we are anyways. Welcome into the show, as always, Eddie from the Bronx.
How you fellas doing? Hope you all having a good night. And I know me and John did this morning because I saw him at work, and I was like, "You do look sexy, big boy."
I believe it. And of course, we had John, the bloody himself into it.
I ain't fucking doing no fucking that.
Oh, and speaking of John, I just want to let him know you actually have 4 bottles of the cherry relish.
Fuck yeah.
Interesting.
And Tony's like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
All right. We'll see how this works. Trying to share things. There we go, baby. Inside no woman. Get into the first show. If it decides to load at any point in time. That being Eddie and I discussed the main event at least of this show a few nights ago, about a week ago now, I think. And of course, being the Night 7 Survivor Series in Montreal, Quebec at the Molson Center. Won't talk a whole lot about the main event because that's what we talked about the other day. But all right. Well, you can see the rest of the card is 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination matches. We had 4 of those on the card. New Age Outlaws and the Godwins beating the Pitbangers, and the New Blackjacks, with the Outlaws being the sole survivors. Truth Commission defeated the DOA. Team Canada beat Team USA. Kane beat Mankind in a pretty decent first match for Kane. And Ken Shamrock, Ahmed Johnson, and LOD defeated the Nation of Domination in a pretty dominating performance by the Lethal Weapon himself, like the world's most dangerous man. And then, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin beat Owen Hart to win the Intercontinental Championship. We're gonna. Oh, I hit max. Come on, minimize. Anything worth talking about from that year's Survivor Series besides the main event, in your guys' opinion?
Well, I have a couple of matches that I thought that were really okay. There's actually 2. The rematch between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Owen for the Intercontinental title. I felt like this was Austin's first match back from the injury at SummerSlam, and I felt like that match was a little better compared to this one. I mean, Austin won, yes, but it didn't have the same pizzazz that the first one had because there was a lot of restriction on Austin at the time due to the pile driver that basically hemorrhaged most of his career in WWE. That was my first one. The second one was Kane's debut against Mick Foley. This is why I have a lot of respect for Mick. He made Kane look good, and that push off the ring apron to the table and the bumps he took from Mick for Kane, that was holy shit. what some bumps that man took, and I'm glad that he's a Hall of Famer because mixed style wrestling was hardcore, and I think him working with Kane was the perfect first match for Glenn under the Kane mask. You know, he fought him and actually teamed with him as Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS, and I think they had a match again against each other when he was Big Daddy Cool Diesel on house shows. So, you know, but other than that, I thought that was the two most impressive matches, and then the one that we all want to talk about is the main event, and that's what we're going to talk about. But I thought them two matches were in that same vicinity.
Right. John?
I mean, I agree. The Mick Foley and Kane match was really good. And like he was saying, Mick Foley was like the perfect guy to have in that match with Kane, and it made Kane look amazing.
Right. I'd agree with that. Like I said, Shamrock had a really good outing for his first Survivor Series there as well, in my opinion. Last eliminating The Rock, of course, with the ankle lock submission. Kind of was the start of the Shamrock Rock rivalry, really, for the Intercontinental Championship that we would see down the road. And it was a good way to debut Ken Shamrock in a big show like this, anyway. His first appearance on a big show. That's not going to work, apparently, so we're not going to do that. So, but yeah, other than that, of course, the main event was Shawn and Brett, Montreal Screwjob. Eddie and I talked at length about that at points during our Shawn Michaels Bret Hart rivalry show that we did. But John, you weren't there, so I want to get your take. What did you think of this whole Shawn and Brett had? I mean, they had a match before the match, even for that matter, and then the match itself was kind of, once the bell rang, didn't last all that long, honestly, but maybe about the same amount of time as beforehand. But then the way it finished, we'll get your opinions on all that.
They were having a great match, and this it had the potential to be probably one of the best matches in history. And of course, it still is technically just because it is the screw job, one of the most what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say rigged, but one of the most rigged moments in WWE. And or at that point WWF. But it's like, why
Right.
squander a match that could have the potential to like change the course with a black omen or a flag that just shows we really don't give a shit. And it was terrible because the storyline they had was very uh, emotional, almost words, because of how, the tension between the two. It was like one of those movies you wait your entire life to see, and then it's just bombs because of how they ended.
Right. Yeah, Eddie, did you want to add anything on? Like I said, I know we talked about it quite a bit on it. Right.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I have a question for John, and I know this is coming out of ballpark, but it came from a Hall of Famer who is no longer with us. If you watch the documentary about the Montreal Screwjob on Dark Side of the Ring or whatever, Scott Hall said it that he feels like the Montreal Screwjob was a work. That there is no way Vince McMahon will accept that. But we all know that Vince wanted the title off of Brett because he was going to WCW. Do you disagree or agree with Scott Hall that Vince McMahon will not approve of something like that? That it was a work that it was all just to build up WWE for the future, and that Brett was only doing it because he knows how much money he was going to get in WCW. Do you feel like the screw job was a work?
I mean, in a way, yes, because of how it went down, but at the same time, it makes you think, what if it wasn't, and it just played out that opportunity to get it off the title, make it look like a work, but at the same time, there's so much evidence proving that it was a work when there's nothing saying that it wasn't. So I understand where Scott Hall's coming from, but you also got to think Mr. McMahon is the kind of guy that would pull that shit. He's that evil genius and an asshole.
That is true. I was watching it back after we did our show.
Yeah.
I was watching it back after we did our show about it, and
go, Tony. Yep.
You had mentioned something that I did.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What were you trying to say? Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So I went back and was watching the match and everything that led up to the match after we did our show last time. And I did notice, as you mentioned during our show, would leave their locker room and start walking towards ringside area. You do see in the background British Bulldog go into the DX locker room. You had mentioned he came out, but no, you see him go into the locker room. But then after DX finishes their entrance, Bulldog was with Brett in the Anvil to make Brett's entrance as well. So it's like, why going into Shawn Michaels' locker room after DX had just left that area to head to the ring? Was the kid that walked out with Brett and them in the locker room, and they had to get him out of there, or what?
Actually, I think that's Bret Hart's son, and Bret Hart's son was a big fan of Shawn Michaels, which is odd as hell, but I get it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's my only thing. I was wondering if maybe that's why Bulldog went in there, because maybe Brett's son was in that locker room because he was visiting with Shawn. But it also could have been the screw job itself, too. I don't know. I don't think we ever will know, personally. So Eddie asked you that. I thought was a really good question. I could see it potentially being a work, but where does Brett really benefit from it when, in the long run, that just helps out WWE, and he was leaving the company, or WWF at the time. Was it a work and Brett wasn't fully on board with it, or I don't know. It just wouldn't make sense Bret Hart wise, in my opinion. I know he knew he was going off to WCW. He was going to make a lot of money there, but still, a lot of fish the answers fully too, I feel like, anyways.
Well, I mean, what they probably did, how they did it, still gets done in many shows today, and that's changing the outcome on the fly of the match. So they could have told Brett this is how it's going to happen, but in reality, Brett had no chance. They were just going to screw Brett over. It's also built with Brett going to WCW and all the tension that's going to help the Monday Night Wars go. And really, we never got the full conclusion until I forget what year it was, but it was like
2006.
In the 2010s, 2006, when Brett and Shawn actually had that moment in the ring.
Well, correction. It was 2006, I think, when Brett went in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, you're right. It was like 2010 when they had that. And then Brett had his match with Vince at WrestleMania in 2010 at 26.
I have another theory. And I have another theory. What happened
Go ahead.
if Brett? What happened? And you guys should disagree with me with all this. What happened if Bret the Hitman Hart was a plant in WCW? Take their money, wrestle for them, and do what they want. You have somebody within the company that you know you can trust. Because look what happened after Bret Hart went to WCW. Who followed him in the 99? Vince Russo.
Right. That's true.
What do you think that Bret was the first installment? And then why would Vince get rid of the guy that helped you create one of the most dominant era in wrestling history, the Attitude Era, and let him go to WCW, which they had no plan about trying to revamp themselves, but you let him go, and what happened after that? WCW went on under. Vince McMahon bought the company for cheap. There is a pattern here. I'm not saying Bret was fully invested, but Bret goes there, gets his $20 million a year, and then Russo goes there and kills it. It is a plot that nobody else knows. Maybe it was a work. Maybe Scott was right. That when Russo came in, he basically tried to make WCW the second coming of the Attitude Era, and look at what happened to the company.
That's a good point. I mean, you could be honest about that. That could be a very good point, potentially. You guys are hearing me. It's telling me, oops, connection lost as usual.
It's fine. We can hear you a little bit.
Okay. More than. But still. I never even thought about that, but you're kind of right, because, I mean, Bret was obviously CW from WWE, or F at the time. But a lot of things go downhill for WCW after Bret go to the company. So, and then Russo. I asked Eddie this the other day when we did our last show. I'm going to ask you, John. Who is at fault for the screw job? Do you feel Bret screwed Bret, or did Vince screw Bret? Who screwed who in that situation?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, many ways, Bret screwed Bret by making it known he was leaving. Vince screwed Bret
Right.
because Vince wanted the title to stay in WWF. And then, last but not least, Hebner screwed because Hebner was the ref that made the call. But in all, it still comes down to Vince being the boss. Vince calls the shot, Vince does the screw job.
It's one way to look at it, but I agree with what Eddie and I were saying. Bret kind of screwed Bret because Bret shouldn't have went into business for himself. He should have done the right thing and just dropped the title. Agreed to drop the title. He was leaving anyway. And so my problem is Bret Hart comes from a lineage of family, and it's always taught to you in wrestling that when you're leaving a company, you're supposed to do the honors, right? So, with that being the case, why was Brett so much against dropping the title and doing what was best for the company he was leaving?
I mean,
Who put Vince in a rough spot, I felt like. I mean, look at what Medusa did. I mean, she didn't want to do it, but Eric Bischoff talked her into dropping the WWF Women's Championship into the trash can live Monday Nitro. And Vince didn't want Brett doing the same thing.
yeah, but here's the thing with that. I feel like, yes, Brett would take the title for WCW, but I don't think Brett's the kind of person to pull what Medusa did. He might not have been a fan of Vince and all that, but I don't think he's gonna disrespect the title that was, I mean, how do I put this? But he's not gonna disrespect something that means so much to what he's doing. Yes, he's with WCW now, but it's still a title in wrestling that means a lot to someone who is grown up into the wrestling.
True. But I didn't know what Vince was thinking. Like, what's he going to do with this title if I let him leave?
There's always some time. There's always some time that a wrestler's at fault about dropping the title the classy way if you're leaving the company. Brett's not the only one that did that. If you go back a couple of years later, when Ric Flair left WCW, he took the big gold belt with him. Yeah, took the big gold belt to WWF and put it on national TV. It's because Rick, and he is the greatest of all time, like Brett is. Rick did it because of over a deposit. But still, you're bringing another company's belt onto somebody else's federation or company, and you're flaunting it to their audience. It makes you look like you're a self-absorbed person, and that all the work that every other wrestler before you did absolutely nothing, because at that moment you are the best. That's why WCW had to do what they had to and create another world championship. And we all know how that belt looked. It looked like a version of the WCW tag team titles. It was a horrible belt, but they had to do it because Rick didn't want to get back the title without his money. And I'm not saying Brett did it. Brett should have realized who, if it wasn't for, and I don't like bringing up Vince, if it wasn't for Vince, can we all say that Bret Hart would have never won the World Wrestling Federation title against the Nature Boy in Saskatoon?
You're probably right.
But also on that, I mean, yes, Ric Flair took the title, but outside of WWE, WCW, another wrestler that we know did the same thing with TNA. I think it was 2013 when AJ Styles took the TNA championship away from TNA.
Did he go? Did he go to New Japan with it?
Went to New Japan and the Indies.
Did
Eventually, he came back and they unified the titles, and that's when Magnus became world champion.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It has happened, but anyway, that's probably a subject we could bring up another time as well. Something to talk about there. We got little ways to go still here. So let's move on we could talk conspiracy theories and all that stuff for hours, I'm sure. But let's move on to the 1998 Survivor Series. The 98 Survivor Series was very unique, special, different than what Survivor Series, of course, we had in the past, because this one didn't have any elimination matches at all. This was a Survivor Series that consisted of all tournament matches to crown a new World Restoration Champion. Survivor Series Deadly Games. They were live in the Kiel Center in St. Louis. 1,000 people there. Over. And a shit ton of matches. Because you had 18 there. More matches that weren't on the show. So 14 matches. As you can see there, you got the first round tournament match beating Dwayne Gill, a.k.a. Gilbert, as we'd know him. Al Snow beating Jeff Jarrett. Steve Austin, last man by DQ. Steven Regal and X-Pac ending in a double countout. Ken Shamrock beating Goldust by submission, and The Rock beating the Big Boss Man all in the first round of the tournament. You laugh, John. What were you laughing about?
Gilbert. Yeah.
A very short match, too. The quarterfinals will consist of The Undertaker with Paul Beard, Kane, Mankind, Al Snow by submission, and The Rock would beat Ken Shamrock. Up to that point, I personally think there wasn't really shockers, other than maybe like Al Snow beating Jeff Jarrett in the first round, because you would have thought Jeff Jarrett probably would have advanced. But other than that, there wasn't really any shocking results. I mean, of course, we had a big shocker when we get to the main event, but we'll get into that in a moment. So, how did you guys feel about the tournament up to this point before we get into the semifinals and then the finals and, of course, the other match show?
It's predictable for the most part.
I just want to figure out how Mankind wrestled in Gucci's.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah, it was quite the unique look he had that night. From the.
Who could remember even Steven Regal's first theme song, the Man song? Oh, what a classic Attitude Era theme song!
He's a real man's man. With the whole horn and everything to go with the boat
Oh man.
horn. I seen a video where he had his match against Daniel Bryan, I think, or something like that, and they're ribbing him. It's still funny to this day. So outside of the tournament, they had, of course, the women's championship on the line, and I want to say this was the first time ever that the women's championship had been defended on a Survivor Series event. I mean, there was women in action before a Survivor Series, but I think this was the very first time that the women's title was up for.
Yep, it was the first time ever.
We would see a title change as Sable would defeat Jacqueline with Mark Marrow in her corner to become the new women's champion for the first time in Sable's career. I do believe.
Congratulations, Mrs. Lesnar.
And that was a short match, as a lot of these matches were. I think, and maybe I just Everything just, so I don't know if you're hearing me.
No, I
Can you
just
guys hear
heard.
me?
And you sound like you're having a seizure.
No.
Maybe. Anyway, I feel like many people at that point in time really seen Stone Cold Steve Austin as the maybe you guys didn't, but it was an upset in my opinion that Mankind defeated Stone Cold.
Is he giving us the
Oh,
finger?
yes, maybe.
I don't know.
No.
Oh, okay.
PG.
Now you did. Yes, I'm Eddie. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, damn, John. Holy shit.
Okay. I hear. Whoa. Technical difficulties.
What the? Oh, was it? Wait, did Tony just put himself as the card for Survivor Series '98?
Yes, I did.
Nice. Oh, somebody wants to come down here. Yeah. I love when somebody said they will. Don't make me come down there, Eddie. Oh, I love to hear that. Thanks, Daryl. We love you, buddy. Thanks for joining the show.
So is this the guy that challenged you to a fight?
Can you guys hear me or no?
I can hear you.
I know I can show us. You can hear me? Okay, good.
Yeah, we
It's
can
like
hear
I
you.
wasn't sure. All right. So anyway, the point I was trying to make before things went a little haywire there for a second, as I did see you mention Daryl's post in there. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I felt like was the odds-on favorite to win this tournament, so I think this was kind of a shocker to eliminate Stone Cold in the semifinal. Although I know it was with some help, of course, but it still wasn't something. I felt like everybody figured Austin.
No, I'm good, Daryl. I'm on the podcast, but hey, just thanks for joining, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry. What were you
I don't
saying?
know if you guys thought that Austin was the odd favorite or not. I know I did. Point.
You know what?
Rock, of course, defeated The
I actually thought
Undertaker
he
by
was the
disqualification as
on-time
well in the semi,
favorite.
leading to the main event, which
Okay. Did he freeze up?
Not sure.
Yeah, like Tony was saying, I always thought, yeah, Stone Cold was the odds-on favorite, but if it has anything to do with the McMahons, it was gonna be a screw job, somewhere. I mean, Austin and McMahon was going through that rivalry. Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought Austin was gonna win, but you know how it is. What do you think about that?
I mean, pretty sure everyone figured Austin was going to win. And of course, it's a McMahon thing. Fuck who everyone else wants. But on the bright side, congratulations to Mankind.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Mick, like at this time of his career in '98, he was starting to show that he was going to be a top guy. I mean, he really never got that his entire career. Not even in WCW when he was Classic Jack. So yeah, I do feel like Mick had a good showing of doing what he had to. So yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think Mick Foley did have a great showing, but we all know what the outcome was.
Agreed.
Yay!
For a moment, anyway. Oh, we'll see how long this lasts. Yeah, I see there's more chats in there. I heard what you guys were saying, so good that you guys agreed with that. I do agree. Of course, had a vendetta against Stone Cold, so that wasn't surprising there. But then, of course, the other semifinal match was Rock, which The Rock would win by disqualification, leading us to the main. But we'll get into that in a moment because I did have one more match before that main event, and I'm not gonna. I don't have it pulled up here. I might not pull it. Championships as D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry represented the nation against the Headband, the tag team champs, the New Age Outlaws. Of course, the New Age Outlaws, in my opinion, at that point in time, were one of the most over acts in the World Wrestling Federation, whether they were supposed to be or not.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they were the Outlaws, and we got to give it up to the guys in the crowd that did that whole copier thing with all the words of ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The Generation X proudly brings to you its WWE Tag Team Champions of the World. All that on that much paper, and I know paper
Right?
copier was cheap back then, but damn it, that was a lot of work.
I'm sure it was. Just imagine he had Road Dogg Jesse James and Badass Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws, on the other part of the sheet.
Yeah, every time I hear that, then I go like, "Oh, the Road Dogg Jesse James, Daddy Ass Billy Gunn, the New Age Outlaws."
Badass Billy Gunn.
I'm just an ass man.
But yeah, kind of missed that with this, but
Yeah, I
it
do
was a
miss
good
Billy.
triple threat tag match. But anyways, that brings us to the main event match to crown the WWF champion. We got The Rock and Mankind going against each other. Now, the build up to this match, you would have thought the McMahons wanted Mankind to win the championship because they're having their issues with The Rock leading up to Survivor Series. Of course, that's where we get the swerve, though, at the end of this match, because history kind of repeated itself at the 1998 Survivor Series. Their screw job, for the most part, at the end of that match.
Oh, so we're calling this the St. Louis screw job?
Sure.
Yeah. Ah,
That's what you can call it.
yeah. I really didn't. Okay, first of all, yeah, it was a screw over because of all the shit that Rock had to deal with the McMahons, and then all of a sudden he joins them and they screw Mick. I mean, yeah, that's a big way, but the way they put Rock to do you got to go with the eyebrow to the McMahons, and then put on the worst sharpshooter in WWE history.
It was one of them.
Yeah, and you could see how fast Earl Hebner got out of the ring because he like, oh shit, again, you know.
It's
But
that one doesn't get talked about.
you got to give it up to The Rock.
Uh,
You got to give it up to The Rock. 2 years in the company, and he's the World Wrestling Federation champion. I mean, you got to give it up for him.
right.
The fastest rising star wins the Intercontinental title and then wins the World Wrestling Federation title afterwards. Got
At
to
that
give
point.
People's champ.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's still an iconic shot, really, to this day, of The Rock embracing Vince and Shane McMahon as he won the WWF Championship as well. So, Don, you have anything you want to add about
That's
that
true.
match?
I mean, I think you guys got all the bases covered. It was basically a screw job and all that, and it kind of sucks because, I mean, Mick had the momentum and he should have got the title there, but that's just a big fuck you and have a nice day.
That's a fun to that. Have a nice day. We'll move on. 98, maybe to 1999 Survivor Series. If it allows me to here. This one would happen here in Michigan at the Joe, of course. It's not going to let me share it at the moment, it looks like. Whee! And the Keep the show going, guys.
Yeah, still have. Well, let's talk about the 1999 Survivor Series. Well, it was supposed to be a triple threat match for the World Wrestling Federation
And I gotta
Championship.
try the
As the game,
for
Triple
this.
H.
This is
As the game, Triple H defends the title against The Rock and old Stone Cold Steve Austin. But before the Survivor Series of '99, John, if you were watching that, Triple H had a plan for Austin and The Rock on Sunday Night Heat. That him and D-Generation X wanted to attack them before the show. What was your thought about Triple H's plan that backfired him on that Sunday Night Heat?
Well, it's a plan from Triple H. Of course, it's going to backfire. He's a dumbass. And back then, his blue collar bullshit didn't work out properly.
Most definitely, most definitely. And then I don't have my phone with me, but I remember, what was your moments of that event? Mine was the Big Show. Big Show defeating the Big Boss Man team by himself, which was an accomplishment. And then throughout the night, Triple H was trying to attack everybody in interviews, and Austin's interviews, The Rock's interview. But what was most iconic in WWE moments about that event? What happened at that event, John and Tony? What happened at the 1999 Survivor Series that we all remember?
of course that was the debut.
Oh yeah, that guy.
And that wasn't the best moment. That was a sucky moment.
Yeah. But the iconic moment I was talking about was when Stone Cold Steve Austin got ran over in the parking lot.
I did look
Yes,
it
he
up.
did.
And the reason why they did that is to write him off TV for his neck surgery, and he was out for a year. And then the main event was changed from Austin versus Rock to Triple H. It was the Big Show going into the match, and then we all know what happened at the match. That was good. But speaking of the Big Show, there was also another moment. Yeah, it was also another moment with Big Show that happened prior to the Survivor Series when Big Show was, I think it's a WWE moment, when the Big Boss Man came with the Blues Brothers police car and chained the Big Show's father's casket, and the only thing you see is Big Show trying to climb on a casket and drive away with it. And I never saw a man that big flop so bad in leather pants.
Right?
I
It
Captain
just,
Insano.
yeah. Which I heard he brought back Captain Insano at the Country Music Awards.
Yes, he did.
Interesting. Here, I thought you were probably talking about the
I
moment
know
where
he's not.
China beat Chris Jericho.
Most definitely. That most definitely. I mean, that was first time a woman was ever defending a man's title at that Survivor Series too. But the one I like, I don't know, though, maybe it was the opening match when you had Team Godfather against who was it? I forgot who was the
Yep.
other team's name, but Godfather's team came out with all all dress up as
Yeah, and
pimps.
yeah, it was the APA and the Dudleys.
Yeah, oh, that's. But come on, you got to give it up to the headbangers going back to the '70s pimps.
Right.
Sorry, I forgot the day. I've been watching
you can't
Survivor
forget.
Series matches all week. I'm like, oh my god, I'm tired.
Can't forget the Mean Street Posse made their Survivor Series debut that night too.
Yeah, I try to forget that.
Yeah, do I.
I think their debut. I think their debut goes down as the worstest since the Gobbledygooker.
So there was a 9 card that I didn't agree with the outcome of, I must say, though. The Hollies and Too Cool won an elimination match against Edge, Christian, and the Hardys with Terry in their corner. I mean, yes, I know Too Cool was over with the crowd.
Yeah, I still think that Terry should have been the winner.
Yeah.
I mean, the outfit she was wearing that night, I would have just declared her the winner and just walk away.
Right? All right. I'm going to try. You talked about the main event, how Big Show had. Hey, I got that working now. That's good. So we're going to do this. Big Show had his 2 matches. He eliminated all 4 guys in the 4-on-1 handicap match and to win the triple threat match to win his first WWF championship. Here's the Joe. We're going to move on. Unless there's anything else you guys want to say about the 99, we're going to move on to the Survivor Series 2000. And that Survivor Series, of course, took place in Tampa at the Ice Palace. 18,000 people in attendance. I apparently can't get things to pop up and let me talk still, so I'm not going to have those things. I'm not going to have a separate page up, but I've got the ticker finally working. Maybe. We'll see. But this night, we had Steve Blackman crashing. Molly Holly beat TNA and Trish in a 6-person and gender tag match. I want 2000, not 2001. Bulls defeated Billy Gunn, China, Cation 4-on-4 elimination match. Kane beat Jericho. William Regal beat Hardcore by DQ to retain the European title. The Rock beat Rikishi. Hopefully you're still hearing me as I'm reading these off real quick. Ivory beat Lita to retain the women's title. Kurt Angle beat the Dudleys and the Hardys beat Edge and Christian in Right to Censor. And Stone Cold and Triple H wrestled to a no contest. How much of that did you hear?
I heard every part of it.
Eddie, can you hear me? Because it tells me my connection's lost again.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Am I frozen? I don't know. Okay. I see thumbs up. So I take that as a yes. That's good. Maybe I just can't hear you then.
can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you on my phone, but I can't hear you. I don't know.
Well, that's weird.
I see thumbs up. So, all right. Yeah, like I said, I can hear you on the computer. Maybe now? I can
I
see your head
can.
moving. But...
Hello.
Okay, now I hear you. Okay. We're good for the moment. We'll see how it goes. What was, I don't know how much they heard of it. What was something that stood out to you from the 2000 Survivor Series? I had a long day. He couldn't stick around any longer. He was drifted on.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to John for joining us. I understand, man. I saw you this morning. I understand you're tired, but man, it's always good to see you on the podcast. So thanks for showing up, my brother, and we'll see you next week for the Survivor Series from Vancouver.
Yes. Next time at your house.
But yes,
That's weird. Go ahead.
my opinion, I think, and I know you might agree with me, was the main event. The match that everybody wanted to see. Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Triple H. Austin's revenge of the plot to run him over from the previous Survivor Series. It was showed that it was Triple H himself who insisted that Rikishi, who didn't make his debut until after 99 Survivor Series, to run over to run over Austin and accuse The Rock. And the way Rikishi did it, I did it for The Rock. I did it for the family, which is still an iconic moment.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time,
Right.
we all knew that. We were all trying to figure out who it was. Um, and then Triple H went on this face run where he was in a comedy feud with Kurt Angle, who won the King of the Ring that year and was in love with Stephanie and stuff. So yeah, was it a surprise? No, because it's something that Triple H did, but the ending of that the ending of that match was one of the iconic moments in WWE where Austin took the forklift and picked up Triple H and dropped the car. I was like, is he dead?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's definitely crazy. That's for sure. Kurt Angle and The Undertaker had a really good match for the WWF Championship on that show as well. Rock and Ricky had a decent match, but most definitely that main event between Triple H and Stone Cold. I mean, it was a no disqualification match in the first place, but when you take somebody in a vehicle and you drop them from the lift, you kind of think there is no more continuing a match. Very often you see a no contest in a no DQ match, but this was definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain it, and it was a weird finish, but it was an iconic finish because at the time WWE was doing some crazy shit, but never drop a guy from a car onto a pavement, and I'm surprised that Triple H didn't die.
Right? Yeah, so I'm sure they pre-recorded that part earlier in the day and just inserted Triple H in there, but he wasn't actually in the
Yeah.
car, but still.
Oh no, but
As
people at home must have
teenagers,
been
we
like, "Oh
weren't
God, they're gonna arrest."
meant to
Yeah. I think 99
Yeah,
I
for sure.
was I think 1999
All
I
right.
was 19 years old.
So I was only 14, almost 15. All right. So we digress and we move on to the two Greensboro, North Carolina. Now I remember the 2001 Survivor Series very well. 2001 altogether very well. You brought it up earlier,
Yeah.
97 Survivor Series, and now we got more to talk about it, of course, because of this is when it all took place. Because from April of March of 2001 until November of 2001, we would see the into the WWF of some point in time. I feel like we're gonna have to do a special show talking about the whole by WWF and who did come and who didn't come and what difference it would have made. But that's for another time and place.
I like that.
But this
We
was the
can make we
culmination
can
of
make that one we can make that one of our Christmas specials.
perhaps. We got a few other things to go on too, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, this was the end of the alliance, if you will. Survivor Series 2001. That would be the winner takes all Survivor Series elimination match, which we'll get into. Um, we'd see Christian from the alliance defeat Al Snow to win the European or to retain the European title. William Regal beat Tajiri. Edge beat the United States champion. Edge defeated the Intercontinental champion Test to unify the two titles. The Dudley Boys, as the WCW Tag Team Champions, would defeat the WWF Tag Team Champions, the Hardys, to unify those titles. Test would win the Immunity Battle Royal, last eliminating Billy Gunn. Trish Stratus would defeat Ivory, Jazz, Jacqueline, Lita, and Mighty in a six-pack challenge to become the new WWF Women's Champion, as that title was vacant. And then we got the winner takes all match. Was there anything specific that really stuck out to you on the undercard? Talk about the main event from Survivor Series.
Let me see. I'm gonna say the unified tag team title match between the Dudleys and the Hardy in the steel cage match. Um,
Yeah, let's do the page.
you think these
Mm-hmm.
guys were worse on tables, ladders, and chairs? You put a table in a table in a steel cage, and what Jeff Hardy did, he could have won the match. What he did on that top of that cage and went down, if Bubba didn't move, I mean, yes, it was great television. It was great pay-per-viewing, but my God, the way he went down on that, I'm
Yeah,
surprised that Jeff Hardy didn't break his back that night. Surprised that Jeff Hardy didn't break his back that night.
yeah. I think I'm. Yeah.
I
Can you
can
hear
see
me?
you. I can hear
Do
you
you
and
hear
I
me
can
though?
see you. Yes.
And Jeff being the daredevil. Instead, had to go for that swanton, as you mentioned, through the table, and that pretty much match. Kind of, if I remember correctly, eventually led to the first breakup of the Hardy Boys at that point in time, not too long after that. Because Matt was not agreeing with things that Jeff.
Would you blame him?
Which was understandable. But anyway, yeah, that was one of the best matches I thought as well on there. Edge and Test had a pretty good match for the U.S. and Intercontinental titles. But
oh yeah, definitely.
The best match I thought personally on this was actually that main event elimination match. Pretty much everybody got a chance to shine at points during this Survivor Series elimination match. Between the 10 guys, of course, you had Austin, who was a WWF representative, Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Rob Van Dam, Booker T, and Shane McMahon. Team WWF was led by the Big Show. Really, if you look at this, and like I said, we can talk about this in another show at some point in time. More guys from WCW that could have been in this situation or been in that spot personally, but it just didn't feel right to have Austin and Angle in there as part of this, and Angle did eventually screw.
Angle did what he had to because, again, he was another plant by Vince McMahon. But look at what we got the night after Survivor Series. One of the greatest returns in WWF history. You got the return of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And look at what happened after that. Yeah.
Yes.
You have Ric Flair returning back from hiatus after his match with Sting on the final Nitro. He wasn't the same Ric Flair that you love. But look at what moments we got when he became co-owner of World Wrestling Federation with Vince, and then a year later at 2002, we get the reformation of the poison that Vince McMahon injected into the WWE in the form of the New World Order. And we got some good spots because some of the guys, like you said, you wanna somewhere down the road talk about. Yeah, this is just the surface about what happened after this. Yeah, the alliance was gone, but look at who came after when the top guys came out of contracts from AOL. We got guys like the New World Order. You have Goldberg, Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner. The only good part out of that alliance match against WWF was we got to see the true talent of the five-time WCW World Champ, Booker T, y'all.
That is true. Yeah, he definitely I feel like he definitely got a better competitor in WWE than he did in WCW, even though he was a five-time WCW champion.
Most definitely. Look at how his career started in WWE. He didn't even know if he was even going to make it after that botch at the King of the Ring where he planted Austin hard on the table and he hit his head. I mean, then look at the iconic moment that we had with Booker T and Stone Cold Steve Austin. The one and only supermarket brawl.
From Austin and Booker, so.
Yeah, Austin and Booker's supermarket brawl.
Supermarket brawl.
Can you hear me okay?
Classic. Yeah, I think I can for the most part. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Move on to the. Personally, I felt like Elimination Survivor Series elimination match of the match. I think at that point in time, probably the best Survivor of all time, if not still to this day.
I totally agree with you.
All right. 2002 Survivor Series. We wouldn't see an elimination matches, but we would get, well, correction, we did. It just wasn't a 5-on-5, but it would be, of course, the debut of a certain structure, which we'll get into in a moment. The elimination match was a 6-man elimination tables match to kick off the show. You had Jeff Hardy and the Dudleys, Bubba Ray and Spike being the Dudleys, going up against 3-Minute Warning and Rico in an elimination tables match. One? Why are you putting up a 1?
Because it was
Rosie and Jamal.
The Bloodline.
Yes.
Or 3-Minute Warning.
Yes. Of course, Jamal would be better known as the late great and Roman Reigns' brother that has sadly passed away now as well. But that's rough to say. I mean, just, man, 12 years ago. And they're both gone.
You know, like you just said it. I feel like Vince had a golden goose there with Rosie and Jamal. I mean, big, powerful, nasty Samoans. I feel like, okay, he gave Jamal the greatest character of them all when he turned him in I'm sorry, I'm gonna do my Armando. Ooh, mama! I thought it was the greatest character for his thing. I feel like he could have did more with Rosie instead of made him into a superhero.
Yeah. Superhero in training.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have to Jeff and Bubba and Spike in that tables match. But like I said, man, it's just weird to think that was only 12 years ago. We've lost both of those guys now.
Yeah.
Of course, also on that card, Kidman beat Jamie Noble to win the Cruiserweight title. Victoria beat Trish to win a women's title in a hardcore match. The Big Show defeated the Beast, Brock Lesnar, to win the WWF title, or WWE title, sorry. And Los Guerreros defeated Edge and Kurt Angle and He Who Shall Not Be Named. It was an elimination match to win the WWE Tag Team titles, which I'm sure was a great triple threat tag team titles match. But I think there's only one match on this card really worth talking about for the most part, and that is, of course, the main event of the 2002 Survivor Series. Eddie, what did we get in the main event of the 2002 Survivor Series?
Well, we got the debut of one of WWE's most sinister structures of them all. The Elimination Chamber.
Indeed, we did. What was on the line inside said Elimination Chamber?
Well, it was for the World Heavyweight Championship. And yes, I was at that event, and that structure was massive.
Yeah, that was in the Garden, so that's not surprising.
And the
Triple H would walk.
baddest part of it, and the baddest part about that structure, you should, if you ever get a chance, anybody, to go to a WWE event and it's called Elimination Chamber. Back then, now it's all padded, so that means the guys don't get much of a blow. That structure, the outer rim, when wrestlers used to body slam them, you heard only thing in there was, "Oh shit, this hurts." And that's coming from wrestlers that are being body slammed and suplexed on top of metal with no padding. Now they have padding on it.
Right.
Doesn't look like it, but it is not as dangerous as it was.
Yeah. I believe it. So, I'll go over the competitors that were in this match and the order that they entered. Of course, the World Heavyweight Champion Triple H enters number 1 with, well, he's fine. Pay-per-view, Bob, Van Dam. And then we got Chris Jericho entered 3rd, Booker T at 4th, the Big Red Machine Kane 5th, and the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels 6th. The first person D, but I remember, I can just to think of it now, can see it now. Our frog splash he delivered off the top of one of those pods inside this elimination. Incredible, but it also led to his downfall in the end.
And also hurt Triple H. He landed right on his lyrics, right on his thing. That Triple H did the match, and he couldn't even call any shots because
Booker T with the advantage in eliminating Rob Van Dam.
Yeah.
That was definitely a moment you can't forget. Booker T, of course, was the second man eliminated. Got eliminated by Jericho. Kane would get eliminated before Jericho would himself get eliminated by the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, which brought us down to the two men who were the main reason that we got this Elimination Chamber match in the first place, really. Chris Jericho kind of... But you can look at it two different ways. Chris Jericho somewhat came up with the idea of the Elimination reality. We always have heard it was Eric Bischoff's brainchild because Eric Bischoff's the one that fully announced it. Jericho had a little bit to do with it as well. But the reason we have Triple H and Shawn Michaels in this is, of course, if you go back to, that's when Shawn Michaels made his return to the WWE and in an unsanctioned match defeated Triple H. And then Triple H would attack Shawn after the match. And this was Shawn's official return match. I guess you could state it as an active competitor entering this match. Shawn definitely was not wearing Shawn Michaels type gear in this match, though, really, if you think about it and look back at this match. Own tights that he had on for this match.
Well, he was a born-again Christian, so he was embracing his Christianity, which I applaud Shawn to do. But you could have just put a cross without him wearing brown. Looks horrible.
Yeah, it did. Of course, he had shorter hair back then, too, compared to what we were used to seeing for Shawn. But and, of course, comes down to Hunter and Shawn would pick up the win to win the very first Elimination Chamber and his only championship victory after he came out of retirement as well. World Championship victory, I should say.
God, that is true, because his last world heavyweight his last world title reign was in '97 when he beat Brett.
Yep.
That is insane.
And then he in 98.
Wow.
But, well, that's another story for another time. Because I was going to ask you what you thought of Shawn's first run compared to his second run. Again, that's something else we could always run back at a different show too. Because it was a big difference.
I thought. But I'll give you my opinion. I felt like his first one was better. Yes, he was the old Shawn, the Shawn that nobody gave a shit about, the Shawn that really didn't give a care what anybody thought of him. The second run, when he came back, he was a world heavyweight champion, but it wasn't the same. People said it was the same Shawn Michaels and he was the greatest of all time, but it was the shortest run I ever saw of Shawn Michaels. He lost it the next month at Judgment Day. And it was not Judgment Day. It was an Armageddon, or I got the name of the pay-per-view, but it wasn't the same. Yeah, it wasn't the same run that we thought Shawn Michaels would have had. You know, when he won the belt in '96, and you know, when he beat Brett, and then when he beat Brett again in '97. We all knew that part of Shawn Michaels was closing. This one was just I don't want to say it, but you can agree with me, I felt like it was a farewell tour. That this is Shawn Michaels' last hurrah before he retires.
Yeah, I almost feel like if you look back at that now, I mean, I know he'd go, 6 years? 8 years for this second run, because it was just over at WrestleMania when he lost The Undertaker. He had a decent run anyways. So it almost, I feel like at that point in time, when he came back at Survivor Series, they just weren't sure how long they had Shawn for and how his back would handle the rigmarole, I guess you could say, of their schedule. So maybe another thing was, we're going to give Shawn this one last run as champion, brief run, but still a run, and then see where things go. We got a pretty lengthy reign, lengthy, I'd say, for Shawn Michaels, but that was his last world title reign.
Yeah, and you know, around that period too, him and Triple H won the Unified Tag Team Championships. And that was their first time as a team. And look at that run. That run didn't last long either. You know, people knew Shawn was only there.
No, because Triple H got injured.
What did you say? I didn't hear that part.
Triple H got injured is why their tag team title run didn't last very long.
Yeah. But, you know, you got to say Shawn Michaels had Yeah, that's true. But you know what? I do have to say that Sean had a good second run, but title wise, it was just nobody knew how much his back was going to hold up. I mean, 8 years without wrestling, it is a long. 8 years to us is just 8 years. 8 years to a professional wrestler, that's like almost what Edge had to deal with. When
Right.
he came back at the Royal Rumble. I'm sorry, I can't use the word edge anymore because WWE blocked it. When Adam Copeland came back, when Adam Copeland came back at the Royal Rumble and was a surprise entry. Sorry, WWE, we don't want to get sued because we use the word name Edge and we don't have the copyright to that.
Well, we don't have the copyright to a lot of things, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, we'll digress. The American Airlines Center, Dallas, Texas, host of the 2003 version of Survivor Series. Raw and SmackDown were into their second run, or their second time as Survivor Series brand extension. We would get Team Angle going up against Team Lesnar in the 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match. Really, this was kind of, other than the Alliance versus WWF, Team WWF, this was the first time in quite some time we'd see more than one 5-on-5 elimination match. As we had Kurt Angle, He Who Shall Not Be Named, John Cena, Hardcore Holly, and Bradshaw against Brock Lesnar, Big Show, Matt Morgan, Nathan Jones, and A-Train for the SmackDown Survivor Series elimination match. Win. My women's title, Kane defeated Shane McMahon and Ambulance. And I remember not just the Ambulance to that match. Who could ever forget the episode of Monday Night Raw where Kane had Shane McMahon trapped between the ring post and the steps? You know, I had to go there.
I know.
The battery to the test.
Oof.
Yeah, poor Shane. How do you manage to have three boys after that? I have no clue.
And poor us as every man that had to watch. And
I know,
poor
right?
us as men that had to watch that and go like, thank God that's not me.
Right, exactly. I can't believe some of the things he agreed to let his dad have happen to him. It was what it was. Hell of an ambulance match. I remember that. Kane did pick up the win, but the Bastion Brothers defeated Los Guerreros to retain the WWE Tag Team titles. Team Bischoff would defeat Team Austin, where if Stone Cold's team lost, Austin was forced to step down as the Raw co-general manager. Had Austin's team won, then Austin no longer would had to have been physically provoked to attack a Raw superstar. Of course, the whole caveat I mentioned, Stone Cold Steve Austin was brought in as the co-general manager of Eric Bischoff, and the Survivor Series match was amazing. A lot of things that you got to see Austin to Bischoff. Some Monday Night Raws that led up to this match and seeing the end of Austin as one half of the co-general managers. Great moments. Of course, this whole storyline was pretty much the first one for Stone Cold Company briefly, or for almost a year, I think, in 2002, because Austin did not want to lose to Brock Lesnar in the King of the Ring tournament, which brought The Rock back from being in Hollywood, and Rock saying, "Oh, you took your ball and you ran." At that point in time, Wooden said afterwards he did things the wrong way with that and should have did the job for Brock pretty much, but he just didn't agree with the review for that. He felt like it shouldn't have been just a Monday Night Raw episode leading into the King of the Ring. And I think this was his return back, this whole storyline.
Well, do you blame him? I felt like when I heard that match, King of the Ring qualifying match, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Brock Lesnar. I get Austin's side. This should have been a pay-per-view match because you got the veteran against the future.
Rookie. Yeah.
I mean, if you would have did that now, like I know this is gonna sound weird, but if you would have did Brock versus Cody, like we had that pay-per-view, if you would have did that on that Monday night on a Monday Night Raw, you don't think that Brock Lesnar would have walked out, or even Cody?
True. Good point. I'm sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, Austin was gone for quite a while. So.
yeah. I mean, was it done in a shitty way? Yes, but Austin had every right to be pissed off because Creative didn't have nothing for him, and they just said, "Yeah, lose the Brock on Monday Night Raw." Hell no. What Austin did for you and saved the company during the roughest times, and you just want him to lose to a rookie on Monday Night Raw. Austin was pissed off even before that. He didn't want to wrestle Scott Hall at WrestleMania. He wanted to wrestle Hogan. To
Yeah.
me, speaking of that, let's go back to that. I always felt like they could have did even a big box office smash if you would have had Austin, Rock, and Hogan triple threat match in Toronto.
That would have been amazing. You're right. That would have been even better. I mean, Hogan was incredible itself, but yeah, Austin would have made it even better.
Yeah. I mean, no. Did the match go off as a hit because you had the rebirth of Pukemania? Yeah, it was, but
yeah, of course we get Hollywood Rock.
3 icons. And yes, we got Hollywood Rock out of there. I mean, we would have had Vince McMahon would have been counting money in the back, laughing, smoking cigar, and drinking 12 bottles of champagne.
Yeah, probably.
And he didn't even have to share it with Andre the Giant.
Don't blame Austin either. Went off track there. But yeah, Austin's team was the Dudley Boys, Booker T, Robbins against Bischoff's team of Mark Henry, Scott Christian, and Chris Jericho. This was when Randy Orton was really getting his killer hard push at that point in time, leading up to what we would see within the next year, of course, when he becomes this world champion in WWE history at the SummerSlam in 2004. But this was the first big blow, I feel like, for him.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tony. I thought it was the Legend Killer character was the best, and it showed how of a second generation wrestler Orton was, and look at how he's still going today. When you have the Cowboy Bob Orton's genes in your body and your daddy is one of the greatest heels of all time that still thinks that he has a broken arm and he wears that cast like nothing. But yeah, I thought the Legend Killer character was a really good fit for him. Are you still there?
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Wears that cast like nothing. But yeah, I thought the Legend Killer character
Do you hear me?
was I can hear you now. A really good fit.
I think you can hear that probably in the background.
At least I still sound like a New Yorker, so I'm good.
What was that? Right? Got the Buried Alive match. You got Buried Alive match. Undertaker and Kennedy McMahon. Match, of course, we got to go into what it leads up to because this was the American Badass of The Undertaker. This was the end of the American Badass version of The Undertaker, really, for all intents and purposes, because it looked like he had Vince beaten until his brother Kane came out and helped out Vince McMahon and helped bury The Undertaker, to bury the American Badass, if you will, which would lead to, of course, the rematch between Undertaker and Kane at WrestleMania in 2004. And the return of the Dead Man.
Oh my God, the reason why this match happened, and everybody know, maybe people don't remember, but I do. This match happened because Taker was fed up of Vince treating his daughter, Stephanie McMahon, who was the general manager at the time, treating her the way he did on SmackDown, the general manager of SmackDown, treating her because she signed this unknown masked wrestler. I think I remember his name. He was so pissed about that, and plus you had to return a Sable at that time too. He was mad because Stephanie signed Mr. America, brother.
After Hulk Hogan had been fired.
Yes, and I'm still to this day trying to figure out who Mr. America was.
I have no idea.
I mean, he sounded like Hulk Hogan. He ripped off his shirt like Hulk Hogan. But apparently, it wasn't Hulk Hogan. It's amazing that Mr.
Right?
America has three separate personas. He's Mr. America, he's Hulk Hogan, and apparently he's Terry Bollea.
Right? Yeah. That sounds about right. But yeah. I'd take it up for Stephanie.
Is she okay? Is your
yeah,
your niece okay?
I think so. They're out in the other room. My door is closed. So you still can hear them, I know, but
Oh, she sounds like she's coughing.
she's got a cold.
Yeah. Man, that is some strong ass cough.
Yeah, right? My door's not closed all the way, but they're not far from it.
Yeah.
All right. Like I said, we out of that, the best thing that came out of that Buried Alive match really is what we'll get the Dead Man version of the Under Badass. From there, you of course go into the main event. Triple H going up against Goldberg for the World Heavyweight Championship, which Goldberg had previously won from Triple H the month before. Goldberg would pick up the win after 11 minutes, 44 seconds. A decent match. I mean, what can you say about a Goldberg match, really? I feel like Team Bischoff versus Team Austin match was honestly the best part of the whole show, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really don't want to say that because I feel like okay, yeah, that was the best match because Goldberg. Yeah, what are you gonna say? We've been watching Goldberg's matches since he debuted. He can have somebody
Right.
great in the match, but he still is still to this day. I feel like Goldberg is still green, and he's been in the business for how many years? He still
And too many.
feels, yeah, he still feels like, oh, I'm gonna win in 11
So,
minutes.
so here's a good question for you: is that the difference between being a WCW power plant compared to being an NXT / WWE Performance Center trainee?
Oh my God, it's a complete 360. When you have a guy like Tony D'Angelo from the family, how you doing? Um, and you guys got like Obafemi, my version of All Man Johnson, Trick Williams.
Yeah.
When you got like Roxanne Perez, they are, and so I'm going to say this: the former Chase you know, Andre Chase. Look at NXT wrestlers; they actually show what the hell they're doing. When you oh that sorry, I don't know
Right.
what the hell I did. I think I just
You
did a
did a
diamond
diamond.
cutter.
Oh,
Wait. Okay, I prefer the NXT
all
version
right.
because the WCW power plant was just let's get people on so we can destroy WWF. That's the way I felt.
Yeah.
I think it's more advanced.
Right.
Back then, you had wrestling schools. You had all this thing. You had former and current wrestlers training guys. Now you have all these studies and all that. This is why the NXT brand and their farm system is better than the WCW power plant.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean,
Big difference, that's for sure.
were they good guys that came out of the? Is there good guys that came out of the WCW power plant? Absolutely. We would have never got terrorizing.
We AKA Triple H, of course.
Yeah. I mean, we would have never got Johnny B. Bad, or what people call him by his real name, Mark Merrow. I mean, maybe there were some WCW superstars. Hell, we would have never got it the Disco Inferno.
You did not just say that. Tell me you did not just say
I
that.
did. I just did. Or we
Oh,
would have never
Lord.
got. Or we would have never got high voltage.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, true.
And then I'll stop. I'm going to say one more team, and then I'll stop. We would have never got the second coming of the American males in WWE if it wasn't for Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Scotty Riggs.
Yes. Ah, Lord. Speaking of, happy birthday to Kit Wilson, I believe was who it was. I seen on Twitter his birthday was today.
Nice. And we also got to
And
give a late birthday. We also got to give a late birthday to the late great Elizabeth Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We'll move on to the 2004 Survivor Series. We got one more show to talk about after the 04 one. The Gund Arena in Cleveland, Ohio hosted as Spike Dudley defeated Billy Kidman, Chavo Guerrero, and Rey Mysterio in a four-way to retain the Cruiserweight title to kick off the show. Shelton Benjamin beat Christian to retain the Intercontinental title. 4-on-4 Survivor Series elimination matches: Team Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero, Big Show, John Cena, and Rob Van Dam would defeat Team Angle, Kurt Angle, Carlito, Caribbean Cool, Luther Reigns, and Mark Jindrak with Jesus in their corner. Who could forget Jesus? He came in as the manager for Carlito when Carlito first debuted. Whatever happened to that guy? Undertaker defeated Heidenreich. Heidenreich. Did I do that? This would defeat Lita by DQ to retain
the WCW power plant.
Trish Stratus beat Lita by DQ to retain the women's title. John Bradshaw Layfield would defeat Booker T to retain the WWE title, where if JBL lost, he would have to leave. And in the main event, Team Orton would defeat Team Triple H in a Survivor Series elimination match, which we'll get into that one more. Was there anything... Well, not a whole lot more, but we will get into it. Anything special that really stuck out to you at the 2004 Survivor Series? Second year in a row, Orton was a sole survivor.
I gotta say the main event of that night was the best.
Yeah.
Because we all know what happened at the end. We also know what happened at the end of that match. That was iconic.
I was thinking that actually the next year. Because Orton was a face at that point.
Okay, my back.
Wrong, Taker when he gets
wrong Survivor Series.
I know.
Bad. So,
like I said, I was thinking it. Oh, wait.
Sorry, Taker. I got your matches wrong. Oh, shit.
Right. We'll get there. But yeah, no, I still agree, though, because Orton did eliminate Edge and Triple H last to win. So that was still probably the best match on the card. It's an okay card, not say. Nothing else really to go home about. So we'll move on to what you were thinking of. We'll talk more about the 05. Got anything you want to say about that 04 one?
No, not really.
All right. So then we go back to the Joe Louis Arena here in Detroit, Michigan, or there in Detroit, Michigan, here in Michigan. He beat Chris Benoit in the first of the best of 7 series to kick off the Survivor Series. Great best of 7 series, and I did mention his name. I know I've been saying the guy you don't mention, but still, I did. Trish Stratus with Mickie James would defeat Melina with Mercury and Nitro to retain the women's title. Triple H defeated Ric Flair in a last man standing match that went 27 minutes, surprising for John Cena would defeat Kurt Angle to retain the WWE Championship, even with Kurt manager Daivari, a special guest referee. Teddy Long would defeat Eric. And then in the main event, Team SmackDown would defeat Team Raw in the only elimination Survivor Series match. Then, what did happen at the end of that main event match, Eddie? Since you were going to mention it anyways.
Well, because we were a year ahead of last year's 04 one, we get the return of the Dead Man.
Yes. As Randy Orton's in the ring celebrating with a bunch of the lower named SmackDown guys. Out comes a casket. That casket set on fire. Dead Man. who Randy Orton and Cowboy Bob Orton had set on fire in a casket several months prior.
And to
Like
me,
you said, it was an don't forget.
and I wanted to say something about that. To me, the Undertaker's look when he came out of that casket, you know, sometimes he had his shaved beard, but I think
Right.
this version of the Undertaker I like because he grew out his beard a little bit and it looked really nice, and he was tan. He was tan more. I think this version of the Undertaker was a little better than the years prior when he looked like he had a goatee, but he had a full beard, and I like this. I like this version of the Undertaker.
Yeah, it was nice. That's for sure. But decent Survivor Series, like I said, the last man standing match. It was surprising that Ric Flair went as long as he did against Triple H. Nothing to say about that other match. The women's match was interesting. Booker and Chris had a good match. So the main event was pretty much the main thing on SmackDown versus Raw. That was kind of the big thing right then, the brand supremacy, if you will. And then the Undertaker's return. So now that we've talked, we've gone through this part. We've got 2 more shows to go, of course. Halfway through, Mark, pretty much here. I want to ask you, are you more so of the early days of Survivor Series when pretty much all matches on the card were Survivor Series elimination matches, or are you more of what we saw more of in this version, this show, to only get a couple Survivor Series elimination matches during Survivor Series? If you're lucky to get one at least.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you go first, and I'm gonna let you know what my opinion is. So,
Okay.
tell me
Answer
what
my own
version.
question first.
Tell me what. Yeah, I'm gonna have you answer the question because I want to see what version you like better, and then I'll let you know what I thought of my version of the Survivor Series. So I'm gonna let you go first.
So I'm not basing this off of all the Survivor Series. I'm just going up to now. So I'm not going to include the War Games and all that we get nowadays. But in my opinion, I've always enjoyed the elimination matches, the traditional Survivor Series elimination matches. I'd more at this point, up to this halfway point, half the show being elimination matches, I guess, kind of like what we've seen a couple different instances of. But I go full on elimination matches like they did in the first couple of years. 4 or 5 matches tops for that. And that'd be tough to do, I think. I mean, you could do it, but
Okay, I love your suggestion, and I applaud what you say. I'm more of an old school. When Survivor Series came out in '87,
yeah,
I actually liked the concept
right.
because maybe back then you had a beret of future Hall of Famers
Oh
back
yeah,
then. That I love the concept of that Survivor Series Thanksgiving Day tradition. Elimination match, only the strong will survive. And then they kept it until 1991 when you had the Gravest Challenge, when they took the
right.
Undertaker versus Hogan for the World Wrestling Federation title. That was fine because it was mostly Survivor Series matches and only one undercard, which was the WWE Championship match.
Right.
92, they really didn't do that. They had like maybe a, I don't think they really had that much Survivor Series matches in 92. But to me, I like
No.
from 87 and 91. I'm a big thing for the Survivor Series. You don't have to go all back to the original, but you do got to break it up because it's in the name, Survivor Series. Now it just feels like
Right.
it's war games and undercard matches.
Right. Yeah, we can discuss more of that situation when we get to the War Games matches in part 4 in a couple
Yeah,
days. But as I
yeah,
said, I'm just mainly basing it off up to the halfway point of the Survivor Series here.
yeah. But
Not something we really could for SummerSlam and WrestleMania, but
yeah. But you know what? I'm a tradition. I always like the old Survivor Series matches because you had guys that were on teams that you never. I mean, look at the first of all. You had Hogan, the Hulkamaniacs versus Andre the Giant team. The Ultimate
yeah,
Warriors, and you had a lot of iconic matches. Only ones I didn't like in the prior ones was the old tag team Survivor Series match because that's a lot of goddamn teams.
you had 10 teams, you had 20 guys standing up on the ring apron, pretty much
Yeah.
covering the apron, if you will, around him.
Other than that, I like the tradition ones because you also had talented that never got on to shows. Like, would we
Right.
ever see now? Would we ever see Sam Houston if he was in this prime
Yeah.
now? Would we ever see the blue? Would we ever see the Blue Blazer? Which was nice to see him again because we know who he was. I mean, would we
Right.
even see the Red Rooster? Will we even see the Red Rooster? Guys that didn't get a chance to shine. You know,
Right.
I always
So
felt like.
knowing
You still
that
there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, yeah. You went out for a minute.
Okay. Um, knowing that we're at the point the traditional Survivor Series matches were kind of diminished to maybe a couple, maybe 3, going on past this Survivor Series in the next 2 parts. Um, when it comes to those traditions, do you prefer more of the 4-on-4 that we got quite a few of in this version, or do you
I think the 5-on-5 ones are better. That means you have a better chance to winning. I always felt like when they went to the 4-on-4, it's like okay, they're just trying to rush it. To me, I
right?
always like the 5-on-5 traditional match because you would not know what the element of the surprise is. And I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, I agree with that. Uh, and I also, to me, if they were to bring it back and have some more Survivor Series elimination matches on there, I always loved it when they had teams, um, like the Warriors or the Hulkamaniacs or the $1 Million Team or whatever have you. I just felt like that made it a little more special. And like if, for instance, um, what was it? Like Duggan, I think, was with Demolition, if I remember right, and painted up part of his face, like his face, to look like he was a member of the Demolition. So I just think there's certain
Oh
things kind
yeah,
of
SummerSlam.
like that they could do. And
I mean, SummerSlam '88.
Yeah, just things like that. It just makes more of a team camaraderie.
I mean, oh yeah. I mean, but look at some of the teams you had back then. I mean, you had 1 year. You had the Hulkamaniacs with Hulk Hogan, Jake the Snake Roberts, and Axe and Smash.
Right.
That is a good team. And then 1 year you
Right.
had Kurt Hennig and 3 Demolitions members. Yes, ladies, we are flexing for you right now. So, welcome to the gun show.
It's yeah.
This will be our 2025 calendar. The Tiger Talk Wrestling. The Tiger Talk Wrestling calendar.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah,
I already
just
know
always
what,
enjoyed the team name.
I already know what February's calendar is going to look like. It's going to be me and you standing like this with a lollipop in our mouth.
All right. But yeah. So with that being said, we've got more. So this one, of course, was delayed. And that we are through the 2005 now. On Monday at 6:00, we will be back here live. We will make sure it's under 2 hours, because we're just over 2 hours now. We'll be back here live with our part 3 of the retrospective on Monday, and then turn around Tuesday. We'll do part 4 as well. So it'll be 2006 through 2014 on Monday, and then Tuesday will be 2015 to last year's. That'll bring us up to speed. Wednesday through Friday off. Of course, Saturday is the big day, because Saturday we'll be over there at Eddie's castle, and we'll be doing our prediction show. The weather's looking good so far from what I've seen today. It's not supposed to be bad next week, so we'll see what happens next weekend. Anything can change between now and then. I mean, we woke up with some snow today, but we'll hope that the weather holds out. We'll be over there ready to do our prediction show. What time exactly we want to do that? Probably 5, I'm thinking, because the main starts at 6:00. Survivor Series does.
Yeah, and John already told me you and him are going to pick up the sandwich platter from the store. So when he picks you up, you're just going to go pick up the sandwich.
Yeah, pick that up and probably pick up some soda.
Yeah. And yes, people are letting you know what our menu is for our Survivor Series. Thank God we're not doing a cooking class and be like, hi, welcome to Tiger Talk Wrestling Cooking Hour. Today we're cooking Survivor Series chili. You know.
Yeah, we could, but
I know.
Anyways, those are the.
But ladies and gentlemen, before you make that chili, please check your ground beef for E. coli, because it just got recalled.
Yeah, let's see that. Unfortunately.
So in the past 3 months, we had E. coli and a hamburger.
That being said,
this is weird. We had E. coli and a hamburger, and ground beef and carrots. We are really going great, America.
Aren't we, though? But anyway, with that said, we will see you guys on Monday. We hope you have a great rest of your night or your day if you're watching this tomorrow or whenever. Anything last thing you want to say before I close this out?
Well, right now I'm watching the 2009 Survivor Series. So I've been the reason why I haven't heard it because I have it on mute. But yeah, I'm watching the 2001 with the triple threat match for the WWE Championship.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys Monday night.
And I hear my wife playing our Uso thing from TikTok too. So it's a wonderful night.
It is.
Yeet. We're done. We just gotta wait till we get all bored on.